Hey everybody, I've got Junaid Ahmed on today. I'm so excited, and guess what I did? Well, we were so busy talking about the fact that he lived in Denver, I forgot to hit the to start this, so to go live. So we did not go live for the first minute. Anyway, I'm so glad everybody's here today, and we have a lot to talk about now. The surprise is that the beekeeper got a listing today. Would you like to tell us about that?
Absolutely. So, as you can notice, my right eye is a little bit more closed off because the swelling. What happened is yesterday I had some family come over, and they're like, "Oh, Junaid, you want to show us the beehives?" I was like, "Yeah, they're out there," and I was like pointing at them. It's like, "No, we want to go look up close." So I'm like, "All right, sure, let's go take a look." So we walk down there, and if you look at the bees, I'm like, okay, so this is what a beehive looks like, and I'm like talking, and there's all these bees hanging out on the front of the hive. It's called a bearding effect because they're trying to cool the hive down. And I came up really close to the hive, and usually they don't bother. They're totally fine. I'm not bothered, right? They're not bothered. But I'm talking loudly, and one bee was like not having it. She's like, dude, we're trying to cool down the hive. So it came and it basically landed right here, and it basically half stung me, I think, and I was like, whew, like slapping my face silly. It was it was hilarious. I'm like, I think we should go now, and started walking back. And then one of my other friends, he also was getting touched or something too. So it's like, all right, we need to really move, move on.
They weren't very happy with you, were they? Because you guys were
No, we were
you were
pretty loud.
partying, but they thought you were having a party.
Yeah, and it was like 80 degrees outside. It was not a lot of fun. And I have a special guest who just
No
decided to
way.
show up.
Yay! I'm so happy. Hi, how
It's
are
my
you?
daughter.
I saw you the other day. Oh,
Oh, she's
shy.
shy.
She's a little camera shy, huh?
Who's
Honey,
not camera shy
what's
all
your
the
name again?
time?
What's your name
You want to
again?
say hi?
Hi. What's your name?
That's her
Yeah.
name.
Her name is, I'm not going to tell you.
I'm not gonna tell you.
That was cute, though. Um, so,
So
when
that's what happened, and then yeah, I just put some cold compress on
Mhm.
it, and we put some baking baking soda to try to help the swelling.
Yeah.
And I think later on we put some lavender oil to
Mhm.
help with the pain. So that's a little story around the bee sting.
What's your daughter's name?
My daughter's name is Dania.
Tania. Hey, did your dad have a bee sting right there?
Did I
Like,
have a bee sting on my eye?
I set the baking soda on the eye earlier today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was going to have you tell us a little bit about your company and how you got into the whole beehive world and the bees.
Mm-hmm.
And were those the bees that you just brought into the hive?
Yes. So those bees have been here for about a month now, and essentially, when you buy bees, you buy them as a package or a nuke. But before I get into those
Yeah,
details, let's go to like why I even
exactly.
thought, right? Why did you even get
I think
into
because of your
beekeeping?
daughter.
Like unless because of my daughter, because of my kids. Like unless you're,
She,
unless you,
yeah.
sure, go ahead.
I was going to say, does she eat the honey every day?
Oh yeah,
I know we're going to
she
get into
loves the
that in a
honey.
minute.
She loves the honey.
Yes.
So unless you're growing up on a farm or you're growing up with somebody, your parents keeping bees or your grandparents keeping bees,
Mm-hmm.
you don't really step into that kind of field. But it just happened to me for a few years ago. Uh,
Right.
we went to my son. He was 2 years old, so we took him to an allergist because my wife knew that he's gonna have some kind of allergies because her nephews had allergies
Mm-hmm.
as well. So we're like, all right, let's get it checked out. So we go do the pinprick and everything, and then the doctor says, local honey is really good for seasonal allergies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what is that? I was like thinking to myself, I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, what do you mean local honey?
Yeah.
So, anyways, it's in the back of my head, and I'm thinking about it and thinking about it, and just it's just in your subconscious, in my subconscious. So
Right.
over the years, being a Kickstarter campaign,
Hmm?
Kickstarter backer,
Oh,
I
yes.
ran into this project called Flow Hive,
Hmm?
which made it really easy for you to extract honey from the bees.
Hmm?
You're not messing with them a whole lot. All you're doing is just sticking your jar in there, turn
Yeah.
on the faucet, and you're extracting the honey very non-invasive way, basically.
Right.
Because when we do extract honey, we're pulling out the entire frames,
Hmm?
pulling apart the entire
Right.
hive to harvest the honey. So I was like, all right, that's pretty interesting. And so all of these things are stacking up in my mind, right? It's like,
Right.
oh, this to this to this. And then finally in 2017, we had purchased our home and there was a lot of land. I was like, okay, now is the time. But before even that, like, go back a little bit. One of my friends back in Colorado said, "Hey, can I borrow your GoPro camera?" I'm like, "Sure. What you doing with it?" He's like, "Well, I have a 10-acre farm with all these vegetables, and I'm renting these bees
Hmm?
from this beekeeper." I was like, "What do you mean renting bees?" He's like, "Yeah, there's 200,000 bees. But they're gonna bring the hives. They're gonna place them
Hmm.
in the farm, and they're gonna help pollinate." I was like, "All right, that's pretty cool." So now that's the third piece of the puzzle.
Right.
And then finally, we had the room. So I started learning more about beekeeping, watching videos,
Yeah.
doing how the things are performed. Finally, somebody said, "Hey, you need to meet your local beekeepers association because that's where you're gonna get even more information. Because
Hmm?
when you buy bees, you buy from a local beekeeper.
Hmm?
You don't, you can buy them through mail. They will literally ship them through USPS,
Yeah.
but they're like it's better to buy it locally.
Hmm?
So I was like, all right, perfect. Um, and
Interesting. I just rented a car. I didn't know about bees. Mark is my caregiver.
thanks, Mark.
Yeah. I know. He was like, I really want to listen to this because I need to know more about bees.
Yeah,
And Mark will probably say, oh, I'm going to do this now too.
exactly right.
His
So
apartment, yeah. Don't know if that's a good
there
idea.
you can put you can put a beehive in the balcony of your apartment because
Wow.
bees don't depend on what you provide them. They
Hmm.
fly anywhere from 3 to 5 miles to
Wow.
find the flowers, the nectar, the pollen, the propolis, and bring it back to the hive.
Interesting.
Yeah,
It's very interesting. I did not know that. But I was going to say, when you were talking about your friend in Colorado who
mm-hmm.
wanted the bees
Yeah,
to help with their, oh,
pollination.
yeah, with the farm to pollinate. Well, it's really big to get bees in any state that's growing hemp because they like to actually produce CBD from the hemp plants that
Mm,
actually are being pollinated by the bees.
yes,
So, and hemp honey is really good. That helps too, right? Um,
absolutely, absolutely,
yeah,
because you're consuming the nectar from the hemp flowers.
exactly.
That's hemp honey right there. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yes.
that's big because a lot of these hemp farms, they'll actually, or the people want to go get the hemp. I'm sorry, want to go get the hives or the parts that
Mm-hmm.
you take out to make the honey from the farms, from the hemp farms, that they want to sell it to them. Yeah, it's great. They have the honey sticks too that are fun and good.
Nice. Yeah, those
Yeah.
honey sticks are delicious.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, bees are pretty amazing. And Lynn Lynn says that she's allergic to bees. Yikes.
I know.
Yep. So luckily I don't have that many allergies. Actually, I don't know if I have any allergies. So didn't affect too much. And then I was really quick to remove the bee when it was trying to sting me, because even a little bit of venom is like, that pump is really fast no matter what, right? So getting that stinger out, or even if there was a stinger, right? Because sometimes they could just like prick you. So I'm not sure what happened exactly, but I was out of
Yes.
there pretty
So you think
quickly.
the bee is still alive? We're not sure. I was like,
Yeah.
bee. I was asking earlier because I said, did you make the bee mad? And that's why he said, no, I didn't make the bee mad because we were just loud. So I think it's really interesting that people don't understand that that bees get irritated because we're either being loud or batting around or something, right? They just want to
Yeah.
be bees.
Right. They're just telling you, let us just be.
Let's just be. Exactly. That's a good tagline.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's basically how I got started, or why I got started into
Mhm.
beekeeping. Around the same time, I took the 8-week course around beekeeping, but that was local to me, and learned everything that I could about bees, and it was just really beautiful. Learning about uh, their anatomy, their maladies, what they're affected by,
Mhm.
and what harms them as well, right? Because you're like, oh, they're a small insect. What's gonna harm them? But what's crazy is that there are parasites that live on bee larvae, and
Really?
they're transported by the
I did not know
bees.
that.
It's pretty crazy.
Oh, here comes Tim.
Let it
And
be,
it
let
be.
it be.
Oh yes, if we could hear him sing right now, you'd be like, "Stop it!" Right? It's interesting because I didn't know. A lot of people, we just think that bees are chasing us, but I don't know why they do want to chase us. It's probably because we're batting at them, right?
Yeah, that, or
Of course.
they they just want to defend their hive, right?
Yeah.
Because that's where the queen lives, and
Right.
uh, they want to keep all of that safe. Now, I'm not sure if you saw last week or the week before that was the World Bee Day, and Angelina Jolie took this photograph where bees were just hanging out on top of her.
She just thinks
Now,
like that,
what's
right?
crazy is that if the temperature is cold enough, the bees are pretty calm, because if it's below 55 degrees, bees don't fly because it's too cold for their body. They don't have warm blood like we do, so they like the heat. The hotter temperature is much better for them. So think they had to keep the temperature in that room really low so the bees would calm down, and everybody was wearing the suits. It was pretty neat.
So, question I have for you is, when you said that it was really hot, I don't know what the term you used. Should they all kind of go in the hive? And what do they do
Yes,
in there? Like, how can they
yes.
make it not so hot?
Yes, so what they do is they ventilate. So they'll be sitting in front of the entrance, and they'll just hang out there, and then they'll flap their wings as if we're blowing air out. So they're
Oh,
kind of doing
interesting.
like a like a yeah, they're basically ventilating the hive, keeping it,
Hmm.
trying to keep it cool. Now, the hive that I've set up, I've made sure that there's extra space beneath the hive so that there's more, more airflow can happen. So it's
Wow.
pretty interesting that, even then, it was in the 90s, so you would see, that stuff coming out.
Right. That's interesting. You're like, you're
Mark,
not being cool enough for us, so we're missing you.
yeah,
Because you're the papa. Like, right?
exactly.
Supposed to take care of us.
That's why it's called bee husbandry, because
Yeah.
um, all the worker bees and the queen bee are, they're females. The drones are the male bees. They
Okay.
don't they don't do a whole lot of work.
So what do they do?
They are only there to advance the species. So they're there to mate with the queen. If
Okay.
a new queen comes, then they
Okay.
mate with them
All right.
with her.
So do they only, so the worker bees, the men, what am I saying? the girls and the boys, do
The girl.
they don't, so they don't mate together. It's only the male mates with the queen bee.
Yes.
Interesting.
And one queen bee will mate with at least uh, 10 to 12 um, bees or drones.
That's it.
Um,
But,
yes.
I mean, it sounds dumb, like that's it. But I mean, but seriously, I mean, if she, so there's like 10 or 12 that hang out with her, and
No, no, no. So here's just like how when a bee stings you,
mm,
it dies because what
right,
happens the body, the stinger, is removed from the body of the queen of the worker bee.
yeah,
Same, just like that. When a drone bee mates with the
queen.
queen bee, it dies.
Oh,
It's one and
that's
done.
nice.
So,
That's what it does.
so that's why there's
You have a great
10 or
life. You're gonna have one single life, like
one and
immediately.
done. The drone is done, and
That's
so
right.
10 anywhere from 10 to 11 drones will then mate with the queen. Now the
Mm,
queen will store up to 1 million to 2 million eggs in her body for
wow,
its entire lifetime. And the queen
wow.
also has the ability to say, okay, this is going to be a male bee, this is going to be a female bee. So
What?
when it lays the egg, it can pre-fertilize it or pre-assign the gender that it's going to be.
Did not know that.
That's
Did
pretty
not know
amazing.
that. That's
Yeah.
very interesting.
So
I'm
Mark's
glad
got
we're
a
having this
question
conversation.
here.
Mark does, yes.
Can bees sense fear in humans?
Mhm.
That's a good question. I think they can because all human beings are actually all life, all just like our phones are connecting to
Mm,
each other through Wi-Fi. We
right,
can't see Wi-Fi, right?
right.
We know of it. So just like
Mm,
that, human beings and
yeah.
animals have that same kind of Wi-Fi that they don't have any control over. Like I can't turn off my Wi-Fi and
We can
tell
turn
the
it
bee that
off.
I'm not scared,
We
right?
can turn it off in
Yeah,
our apartment or our house, but it's still all around us. It's still
right.
coming through, whether or
In
not
our
we can
bodies.
use it. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting.
So I'm thinking yes, they can. Just like other animals can sense if you're afraid and
Mhm.
whatnot. Dogs
Yeah.
can sense the fear. Cats.
Mhm.
So bees can also sense some kind of fear in humans.
Yeah. So the bees that you have, they're raised in the States, right? But I believe I heard
Yes.
you talking about there's two primary countries, right, that produce the bees. There's one in Africa and one in the, was that it? Did I hear
No,
that
no,
from
no.
you?
So bees are not native to the United States.
Right. I
United
know
States
that.
have different, right? So you remember that one.
Mm,
But there are at least 4 or 5 different countries that have that they're native to. So Africa has, the African bees.
mm,
They're very temperamental
mm.
because of
It's hot.
it's hot, the temperature, it's either
Mm,
too hot, either too cold. So
mm,
they're ready to leave immediately. Then there's also Russian bees, there's Italian bees, Carnolian bees, which are from which is actually from Yugoslavia, I think.
okay.
So there's those regions, those bees are coming from. So now
Mm,
bees that are raised in the U.S. they mate, over generations. They're mating with bees that are now essentially raised in the U.S. Queens are raised in the U.S. So they're mating
right.
with different species together. So they're
Mm,
kind of like a mutt,
yeah.
right? That we deal with.
Nice.
Now,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Um,
also in Canada. There's a huge research department that talks about bees.
mm,
That basically have experimented and created bees that are more hygienic. So they'll make sure that they clean themselves. They make sure that they uh, remove the mites and whatnot, and they're better tolerant, like similar to I think Russian bees. Also, are not as much affected by the mites problem that we have.
so Dorothy is from Canada, and she just popped in. And I don't know, Dorothy, did you know that your bees are a little bit more cleanly? The Canadians are very like, okay, like
Yeah.
they're nice out there, right? They're nice neighbors. So We don't get the killer bees from Canada.
No, not at all.
Yeah, the killer bees, where do they come from?
So they're also, I think they're a mixed breed from Canada. Sorry, from probably Russia and Carnoli and
Okay,
Italians. But
okay,
then they've also, just like they do gene therapy for plants, they
right,
do similar things
right.
with bees as well to make sure that they're coming out pretty
As killer bees?
subtle and all that.
But
Not,
there are killer
not,
bees. The
not
killer bees, don't they usually come up like from the south? From like,
right.
I
So
don't know if
they're
it's South America. I think they might come from Mexico. I'm not sure.
yeah. So
We were
they're
talking
they were
about it.
initially found in Africa, and
Mhm.
they eventually made it out to the south because again, south of the border it's much warmer,
Yeah,
similar temperature,
yeah.
and yeah, they're just they're a lot more aggressive.
Mark was asking how many species of bees are there, and how do you choose which one to raise?
Great question. So there's about 20,000 species of bees in the world, including carpenter bees. There's the bumblebees. There's
Yeah.
even smaller bees that live in the ground or live in tree trunks or live in your deck, even like the carpenter
Mhm.
bees that's
Yeah.
buzzing around. They're living in your inside wood.
Yeah.
Um, the ones that you get to choose is the one that is raised by your local beekeeper. So let's
Mhm.
say you want to start and become a beekeeper. The first thing that I would recommend is read a book or join a local beekeeper club and attend those meetings. And you're gonna learn a ton about the bees. And then usually, um, these beekeepers are also offering courses so you can learn the basics of bees. I mean, anybody can go
Yeah.
and buy the equipment and the bees through the different platforms, but they recommend, hey, at least get to know what you're getting into, so that when you're faced with a problem, faced with
Right.
something happening, you know what to do. And then everybody also recommends that, hey, you need to have a mentor at least for the first year so that you have a go-to
Yeah.
person to ask questions. So I've
That's a good
mentored
question.
my
That's a good
neighbors,
answer.
and other beekeepers around me after my first year. I'm like, yeah, I'll walk them through it and I'll teach them.
Okay. That's wonderful. So tell us really quickly about the other part of your company. We were talking about that before we got on
Absolutely.
live. Yeah. That'd be
Yeah,
great. Thank you.
yeah. So I started this small company, Humblezone, more like a freelance almost 20 years ago, and I've been working that through different projects, small businesses and whatnot, helping them create a digital brands. But my full-time job has always been a user experience designer where I build enterprise applications and mobile applications. And it all came, like, it was all because I was really fascinated by computers. Designing stuff on
Yeah.
computers was really fun for me to do. So just got more and more into it, and it was just fascinating because you can see the immediate results as you're creating
Yeah.
something for the web and for the internet. So that's my main part of the business. The podcast part is where the beekeeping and the home studio and the cycling and the woodworking, all those hobbies
Yeah.
combined enable me to start this podcast. But it all started by documenting the beekeeping journey. But
Mhm.
on the business side of things, I help uh, entrepreneurs and coaches help set up their studio spaces. As you can see, I've got some nice lights, nice camera, and really, customized background. It's
Yeah.
something that I help others with because we can all, when we go to a party, when we go to an event, we like to dress up. You
Yeah.
put on your nice shirt, you put on your nice jacket, you put on a
Mhm.
nice dress, makeup, and making sure that your camera and your visual quality looks good is similar to putting on a nice suit.
Right.
Especially this last year, we spent so much time in front of the camera, in front of our computer.
Yeah.
It's important to uh, put our best face best face forward.
So wearing a cream colored blouse. my pale skin is not a good idea. And I
Well,
have
you do
minor.
look nice. You look
Well,
nice,
thank
right?
you. But the
Yeah.
issue is, it's not very good for the coloring,
Right. So
right?
you can definitely modify, make that look good based on the
Yeah.
color lights and where they're
Mhm.
shining, right?
Yeah.
So from looking at your image, I see that you have an overhead light probably on the ceiling that's
Yeah.
shining down.
Yeah.
If you had a separate softbox that was coming at you at an angle,
Mhm. Yeah.
would define your features much more clearly.
Mhm.
For example, I've got two lights right here that define me and help, cast a good light. But if I were to switch the lights around real quickly here,
Mark just decided to ask you and me, are you wearing dress slacks that we can't see?
I'm actually wearing jeans.
I'm wearing yoga pants, so this looks
Nice.
really nice with the yoga pants. See, I could be wearing like my underwear, you would have no idea.
No idea exactly.
It's kind of
So if you notice, my lights changed
yeah.
because I now turn on the overhead lights and I've
Mm-hmm.
turned off my studio
Yeah.
lighting,
Mm-hmm.
and it still looks a little bit cleaner because
Yeah,
the
it does
sharpness of the
actually.
video,
It
the
does.
camera that I'm using,
Yeah.
but it doesn't look as good as when you have the proper lighting set up.
Right.
So just tweaking how where the lights are and what kind of lights you're using, it will definitely
Yeah.
make any video look really clean.
I agree with you. Totally agree with you. I was like, I should not wear this color shirt today, but it's too hot. Believe it or not, in Denver right now, it's 90 some degrees today.
Oh wow, that
Do you
is
remember
hot.
that? Do you remember
Yes,
being that
I do
hot?
remember. Yeah.
Because when I
So
lived, when I was living up in the mountains, it would snow on the 4th of July. Seriously. And that was in the 90s. So,
I believe it.
but
I believe
everything's
it.
changed. Everything has changed now. But yeah, so I just couldn't wear anything warmer than this because I was just like, it's too hot. Even though I have AC, but I can only imagine the bees and you guys out east right now.
Yeah. So
It's pretty hot out there.
bees like to keep it a little warm inside, but then sometimes they can't. They can always, of course, bring the temperature on. So if it's hot at 90 degrees, inside the hive is easily over 100 degrees because there's bodies moving in there. Like they're moving, they're
Right.
doing the work, and just like when we're in a big room, when there's a lot of people,
Yeah.
it suddenly becomes warm. Like, why is it so warm here? The AC's turn up all the way. What's going on? So body heat,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, that's one of the reasons why bees can survive winters too.
Right. So how many times do they fly out of the hive every day? Are they really making more honey? I'm assuming in
Yeah,
the
so
summer
they're going out
because they're
there.
not going out in the winter.
Yeah, they're not going out in the winter. They're staying indoors and enjoying that honey that they collected in spring and summer. But they're constantly making those flights to go out there, get water, get nectar, get pollen. And I think yesterday when I saw it, they were just hanging out, trying to cool down the hive.
It's like, hey guys, they're like, hi.
Hey there.
Like, hey, we're gonna pan
Go
our
away,
wings
dude. Just go.
because we're gonna sting you like we just did. So bye bye. Exactly. So that's really, it's really interesting. I'm glad that you came on today because my friend Highland that was on Friday, he has Lyme disease, or he had it, and he used to do the bee sting therapy.
Oh wow.
But he became allergic to the bees at one point. So, but he was doing it on his elbow because that's where he was having issues. And all of a sudden one day he just broke out in hives from it. But he was fine for a while. It did help him. Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So there are people that are using bees for that. And they'll buy like 20 bees for 20 days and they'll just like keep them alive and then use one a day.
So where do they keep the bees? And then they're like, okay, I'm going to use this bee.
I don't even know how they calm them down. So they grab them like that and they
just put them on your body and
and just they put the stinger, like they put their butt on them and just sting them. I couldn't do that. I was like, you know what? I know I'm pretty sick, but I don't think I need to be doing that.
get that level.
Yeah, that's a whole nother level of Lyme disease right there. But it does help some people immensely. Especially, a lot of people use that on the West Coast. So
on the West Coast, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But I just want to ask you, is there anything you want to tell everybody regarding how they can get in contact with you?
Absolutely. I mean, you can reach me here on Facebook or on LinkedIn. I'm at Super Junaid on all the platforms. You can look me up. Or if you're interested in making your home office look like a home studio, you can check me out over at homestudiomastery.com.
You know what? You better have some questions or some answers for him, because I linked with him. He was like, so how can I help you? I'm like, I don't know. Everybody likes you. So I know. I just like what I hear you say. And he's like, okay. But yeah, he'll definitely ask you why you're getting in contact with him and how he can help you and things like that. So all this information is right down here. As I read it before. See, you know what? You need to teach me the camera.
Yeah.
Like here, right?
It's over here.
Yeah,
sometimes, like, this is my right hand, but it looks like it's pointing left because I'm not.
Exactly. I forget. But Tim was on here, so we have to do the Tim.
You've seen the Tim?
The Tim. Exactly, right? He'll be very excited.
Tim.
It's Tim's birthday next week.
No way.
Hey, Tim, right?
Awesome.
Yep. And Tim is on my show on Friday, and his information will go up after this show. But if you guys have any questions or answers or anything on this, because a lot of people don't understand the bees and why maybe they chase you and everything else, and maybe they just love you. Maybe they like your perfume. I don't know.
Yeah, that's possible.
And they like you in your bikini when you're laying by the pool. That's when they came after you. But definitely, let's see here. Mark just said, what about the Jenny Jam? Because Tim said I had to come up with my own thing. So I went like this one night. I was like, okay, I'll just do that. And then Tim and Brian were like, are you like airing out your armpits? And I'm like, yeah, because it's like 90 degrees here right now. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Said I'm not. And then the other day they were like, wasn't it just snowing there? I'm like, yeah, that's why I have to turn the next sweater on. I'm not doing this. So it's kind of funny. Yeah. You have to joke around with those guys, don't you? But please, you guys, get in contact with Junaid, and we're super excited that you showed up today. And Junaid, thank you very much for coming on my show. I really appreciate it. And guess what? You're helping people with autoimmune diseases. Yeah, so thank you for that.
Awesome. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to be here and to talk with you about bees, because they're fun little creature.
I feel like they're fun. Especially, I just think it's really cool when you have your little mask on. I'm like, there's a bee right there crawling across your face, but you have the mask on. I'm like, okay, don't take that off right now. Yeah. But anyway, have a safe weekend or safe week and weekend. And thank you very much. And I'll talk to you guys later. And you too, Junaid. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Right. Bye.